Welcome back to Women's Wealth, The Middle Way, the show that answers your questions about work, money, and family. My name is Susan McGlory Michael, and I am the CEO and founder of Glen Eagle, a wealth management firm in New Jersey.
And I'm really excited today to have our guest, Leslie Gallagher from Two Hands Four Paws, which is a woman-owned animal rehab center focused on pet recovery and promoting women in veterinary medicine through education funding, mentorship, and career advancement opportunities. Welcome, Leslie.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
We're excited to have you. I thought it'd be helpful if you could just start off by telling our listeners about your background and what inspired you to start Two Hands Four Paws.
My degree from college was in international relations, and my first job out of college was working as an assistant to one of the seven media moguls of the world. He was based in Mexico City, and he didn't allow me to speak any English for 10 years, which I really hated for the first 3 weeks, and then I got used to it. I fell into something that was so crazy. I grew up in Stockton, California, in this little farming town. And I ended up spending the next 10 years flying all over the world with this man who was, I think, in the top 50 wealthiest people in the world. And he had the largest private art collection in the world. He had five Gulfstream jets. He had the two largest private yachts in the world and about 250 bulletproof cars. He had a personal staff of 400, and the company was bigger than ABC, CBS, and NBC combined with about 40,000 employees. So it was
Wow.
absolutely insane. I mean, I didn't even own pantyhose. I didn't know how to wear a suit. I was just wear this country bumpkin from Stockton. And I learned how to drive on a tractor. And all of a sudden, I'm flying all over the world in Spanish. And it was sort of, the King of Spain is on line one, and Rupert Murdoch's on line two, and the head of Disney is waiting to talk to you. So it was very fun and crazy. Money just flew around like you wouldn't believe, and he loved dogs. He had five German Shepherds, and his house had white silk carpeting. I'll never forget watching these dogs padding around on this white carpeting with this incredibly elegant man. After 10 years, he got melanoma. A mole on his shin actually killed him. And I think I stayed in bed for about a month. I was just so deeply depressed. I really loved him. And he was sort of the father I never had. His wife called me after I peeled myself out of bed after about a month and said, "Can you please help me? We've got all these homes, these cars, the china, the crystal, the art, the wine. Can you please handle it?" And she never came back to Los Angeles. So it was up to me to go over to his homes and start getting rid of everything. And it was a little bit depressing because it was like a death all
Yeah.
over again, getting rid of all of his things. But what he left behind in one of the homes was a German Shepherd, and it was the last of the five. And I kept asking his wife what she wanted me to do with the shepherd. And finally, she said, "Oh, just euthanize her. Who's going to want her?" And no, I'm not going to kill this dog. And so I brought her home with me, and she fired me for refusing to kill the dog. And about 3 weeks later, I took her to a groomer to get her bathed, and when I picked her up, she was paralyzed, and I assumed what they'd done is dropped her in the tub and she'd ruptured a disc in her back. But now I'm out of work, I'm grieving, and I have a paralyzed German Shepherd, and I already had a house full of dogs. My poor husband was so tolerant of me dragging home all these strays, but I literally was putting a towel under her belly and slinging her around and completely depressed. And I took her to a neurologist, a surgeon, an acupuncturist, a chiropractor, and I think I went to a raw diet practitioner. I mean, I was just desperate to get some help with this dog. And everybody told me to euthanize her, that there was nothing I could do, which again, I'm not good at taking no for an answer. And finally, my sister-in-law said, "Why don't you try swimming her?" And I was like, "Well, okay, nothing else is working." So I borrowed my neighbor's pool, and in about, I'm going to say 4 weeks, I had her walking. And it was a kind of a light bulb moment. Like, I couldn't believe that I could swim a dog and actually get her to go from being paralyzed to walking. And I searched up and down California, in this incredibly wealthy state that's so progressive with so many intelligent, educated people. And there wasn't a single person in California that was doing physical therapy for animals. And I thought, well, I'm going to learn how to do this. I'd made a lot of money working for him, and I always lived like a pauper. I never spent any money. So I'd saved everything I'd earned, and I thought, I'm just going to give it a try. I don't know if there's going to be a market for this, but what the heck? I love dogs. I wanted to be a veterinarian. I failed every math and science class I ever took, so I was never going to get into vet school. So at 35, I went to vet tech school and I had no business being there. And I felt so old. And all these kids were like 16 and 18 years old. And then there's me. And I learned everything that I could learn about animals, and then I volunteered my services at the Office of a Veterinary Surgeon to try to see what kind of cases I would be looking at, and then I went to human massage school because at the time there was no such thing as animal physical therapy school, and within about a year, animal rehab school actually evolved in Florida, and so I ended up going there as well and getting certified. But what I did was I set up an office in my garage, and my husband put a little tiny above ground pool in our backyard. And I hung up my shingle, and the phone started ringing off the hook the minute I
That's
started.
amazing.
Isn't that
That
funny?
is quite a story. Yeah, it just shows you end up, I guess, where you're supposed to, even though you never thought you were gonna be there. That's amazing. I didn't realize what a start it was.
It's like find a niche and fill it, right? I mean, if
Yeah,
nobody was doing this and I have no ability to take no for an answer. My very first client was Bruce Springsteen. And the surgeon that I was volunteering for called me and he said his German Shepherd had a stroke and he's going to euthanize him if you can't get him walking again. And I was sweating bullets. It's like, can't it be, some little old lady from Pasadena and her poodle's got arthritis? Does it have to be the boss and he's going to kill this dog? No pressure. And I rode over to his house every day and put his dog in his pool and got him walking again. So I knew I could do this. So that was like,
that's
again, my second light
amazing.
bulb moment. Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm gonna need to hang out with you more. It seems like you attract some fake people around you. Um,
I do. It's LA.
but that's amazing. So now you have this two hand, four paws business. Each animal obviously is unique and has different needs. How do you figure out how to kind of tailor your program to
So
each
I have
client or
about
animal?
30 employees, and I put every one of my veterinarians and my RVTs and my physical therapists through rehab school so that everybody in my building is like the most well trained people that you can find in animal PT. And what we do is an initial consultation where we sit down with the client and it's an hour and a half, and it's usually myself and one of the veterinarians and one of the physical therapists. And we evaluate each animal based on what we're seeing and we watch their gait and we measure them for pain and we do all kinds of testing. And from that and the oral history that the owners give us, we create a treatment plan for every single animal. And it changes all the time as they come in. They're getting better in this, we switch it out. So it's not like a cookbook where you just open up a recipe and that's what you do. It's really tailored towards each animal.
I know one of your big focuses is also like mentoring and supporting women, obviously being a woman yourself. How has that been integrated into your company and industry?
So I'm really, really, really passionate about helping women move forward because I came up in this world where it was all men. I was the first female executive at Televisa, which was incredible. I think women don't get a chance. So what I've done is I hire, embarrassed to say this, I hire exclusively women. Over the past 25 years, my hiring rate for women is actually 89%. And I only agreed to hire men when my husband gave me some pushback because we do need some muscle here because we take in a lot of really big, heavy, paralyzed dogs, big German Shepherds, Rottweilers, Akitas that have had a stroke. And you do need muscle for that. So I finally, after a couple of years, I fought like crazy. I'm like, I know, okay. So what I do is every single female employee that I have, if they have the credentials, I put them through rehab school. And if they don't, I get them credentialed. So if they aren't even licensed yet as a veterinary technician, I will push them to get into vet tech school. And I had two employees that actually came to me. They were twins and they were about 16 years old and couldn't tell them apart. And they came to work as kennel assistants, just, cleaning up poop and expressing bladders and all that kind of stuff. And I told both of them that I think they needed to become veterinarians, and we got them into vet school. And one of them was nervous. She decided to start with vet tech school. And I'm like, no, you can do this. You can do this. And we got her into vet school. So both of them just graduated maybe 2 years ago, but worked for me for years while going through vet school. And now we're even talking about bringing them on as partners. And these were little kids when they started here. So I'm really, really push my female employees to get more education, to get better at this. And if they find that they don't like this and it's not for them, I help them find the career that will be correct for them, because I don't want anybody to stay here if rehab isn't their bailiwick. I'm really involved in trying to help my staff get better.
That's amazing and so needed. I feel like, especially women, but just in general, having someone who's pushing you, I think sometimes that's really just what you need, especially early in your career. Because as we were talking about before, you end up places you didn't expect. And a lot of it comes from just the mentoring and people you're around.
One of the things that really aggravated me was the veterinary surgeon that I first started volunteering for 25 years ago actually said to me that women are ruining the business of veterinary medicine. And I said, oh, really? How's that? And he said, we spend too much time with our clients, we talk with our clients too much, and we don't charge enough. And to me, that was just shocking because, yeah, we want our clients to be educated and understand what's going on with their animals and what we're doing to help them. So if we spend more time with them, it's to help them and their pets. And I'm so sorry that you don't think we charge enough, but that's why people come to us.
I think your clientele is probably very different from his, I would imagine, based
Yes.
on what people are looking for. And I guess that's something I'd be interested in hearing a little bit more about is you just talked about how you're mentoring and trying to help women who are interested in your industry. What's one piece of advice you would give to someone who is looking to follow in a similar path to you?
Don't give up, because I knew my whole life I wasn't going to be able to get into vet school. But look at me now. I've got 30 employees. I own the largest and oldest animal rehab facility in the United States. And I failed every math class I ever took. So even if you think you can't do it, ignore that little voice in your head and do it anyway. If it's something that you're passionate about and you really want to do, you'll figure it out. And it may be the sideways way of getting into your industry like I did, but don't take no for an answer. Just keep trying. Don't listen to the haters, because they're always going to be out there. There's always people telling you you're not going to make it. You're not going to succeed. You don't have what it takes. You don't have enough money. Just don't listen to them. Do it anyway, and you'll figure it out.
I think we could all hear that every day and still probably be bad at not listening to the haters and our own inner voices. I agree 100%. I think that's great advice. And I'm very excited to see all that you've done. I mean, your company looks amazing and you've just had so much growth. So I know myself and our listeners will definitely be following your path as you continue to grow here. Thank you for taking the time, Leslie, to talk with us today.
Oh, absolutely. I love talking about what I do.
Yeah, and you
I
can
love
hear the
rehab.
passion, which is great. Well, hopefully, a lot of our listeners will not need your services, but it is
Right?
great to know that it exists and that it's out there. So thank you.
And if they do and they're not in Southern California, they can always call or email me and I can help you. I can direct you to somebody that if you have an animal that needs help, just give me a holler, because I can find somebody. I know everybody in the business, or I can talk you through it over the phone if you need advice. So I'm happy to help anybody that's got issues with their animal.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Women's Wealth, The Middle Way. Make sure to subscribe to us and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcast app. Join us for new episodes every other Wednesday. See you in 2 weeks.